Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel. Hi guys, if you guys are new here, I'm Vince Blanche. You guys can call me Planties. I'm a full-time college student, part-time audit intern, and tonight we are going to be yapping. We're going to be talking. Here's some gameplay of me playing a new world in Minecraft with a Cobblemon mod. And I discovered this cute little village behind me that is in a cute cherry blossom biome. So this new world is super cute. However, there is a lot of things to fix for it. It is a 3-story little village, so there's a lot of dangerous traversing to go about the village. So that's definitely one of my plans that I want to do for building and making this village more ADA compliant for sure. ADA compliancy, that's actually a kind of a hot topic going on at my job right now. They want us to do quite a lot of work for it without a lot of time to do it. And yeah, that's something else we can get into talk about. But if you guys are watching on YouTube, hello, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you are interested in watching episode 1 of me creating this world and kind of talking about life, I really yapped about a lot of things, really. One of the things that I talked about was, am I ready to be a mom? What else did I talk about? I'm like blanking on what I talked about, but I do know. Oh, I was talking about community. I was talking about being a mom, or not being a mom, but kind of like working through my feelings about being a mom one day. I feel like I grew up not thinking I wanted to be a mom, and I am now married. I'm 26, and I'm kind of at that age where I'm like, yeah, I can be a mom. I think maybe I can imagine myself being a parent. However, being a parent is definitely it's a full-time job for sure, and it is a huge responsibility, and that's what really makes it so intimidating, specifically as being a parent and having that responsibility of raising a child. But so for tonight's topic conversation, I wanted to talk to you guys about perfectionism, or being perfect, or striving to be perfect. I grew up always feeling the need to... I wouldn't describe myself as a perfectionist. However, people have described me as a perfectionist. And, ever since I've been described as a perfectionist, I've always kind of went back and forth. Am I a perfectionist? Do I always feel like I have to have everything perfect? And I don't agree, sometimes I am not. I'm okay with things not being perfect for the most part. However, I do find myself a lot of the times having a really high standards for myself, and a lot higher standards for myself compared to other people. I am a lot more permissible for other people making mistakes, but whenever I make those same mistakes, I'm not okay with it. And I think that kind of goes into line about feeling the need to be perfect, or feeling the need to having really high standards and not wanting to do things because it won't be the perfect way, or not to turn in things because it's not perfect, or it's not to the standards that I would like it to be at. And I kind of saw that with last week's stream where we talked about antique shopping. I did a live stream and I talked about antique shopping, and this stream was really fun. It was really cool. I did a vlog for it. However, it was rushed. It was a conversation that I was planning on having actually today. And so I was planning on having 2 weeks to prepare for it, but things changed, things happened, and I ended up having to push it forward to being next week, or last week. And for being So I had to push it forward, and instead of 2 weeks to prepare, I had only 2 days to prepare. And I definitely kind of got into my head about the quality of the stream because it was not to the standards of my liking. I wanted to prepare more for it, and I definitely was very not happy with how it ended up turning out at the time. So I ended up editing that video. I posted it on the YouTube. So if you guys are watching on YouTube and are interested in checking out the video, I might put in a little card up here in the top right corner, maybe if I'm doing my due diligence as a YouTube editor. If not, you guys can find it on my channel if you guys click on my my profile pic, I guess. But it ended up being a pretty good video. I had a great time talking with people and talking about the different antique stuff that I found. However, one thing that I found was that because I came into creating the podcast episode with the expectation, with a certain expectation, and I was unable to meet that expectation, I was pretty harsh on myself with the quality of the video. And I do know, the video can be improved and nothing is perfect. And if I always have these really super duper high expectations, it's, sometimes I have to be realistic on what my expectations are and really find a balance between being able to do things as well as having standards and having expectations for myself. I think that's kind of where I personally struggle. Setting and meeting realistic expectations is a challenge that I often face, and it is always very hard to set realistic expectations. For me, that is something that I often struggle with, and I think it might be derived from just coming with, I get a lot of ideas a lot, and I get really excited about these ideas. And when I get these ideas, I kind of like imagine like this scenario when I get these ideas. It's great because I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of things that I want to do with these ideas. But coming with these ideas comes with these expectations. And a lot of the time, I don't really take the time to really analyze whether or not these expectations or these ideas are realizable or are realistic. And that kind of is setting myself up for a failure almost, because I have these giant ideas with these great expectations, but when I inevitably do not meet these giant expectations, I get kind of sad because I don't meet the expectations. And the reason why I'm saying inevitably do not meet these expectations is because a lot of the times I do not plan, or I do not take the time to think about what goes into these giant ideas that I have. So it doesn't allow me to think if it's realistic, like what I mentioned earlier. And it's something that I'm definitely learning for. I think it's something that I am growing up, and it's something that the more I live, the more I learn, the more I realize and kind of understand the world around me, kind of have a better understanding about what is realistic and what is not realistic, and have an understanding about what can I do and what my capabilities are. And having these understandings really is beneficial with being able to figure out my ideas and plan around them, because I have a lot of ideas, and I'm sure you guys do have a lot of ideas as well. And it can be really demoralizing when you have all these ideas, and these are really awesome ideas, and you can get really excited about it. And for me, what I kind of struggle with is I have these ideas and I'm really excited about them, and then I start doing whatever my idea is. For example, making a YouTube video. I have this giant idea, for example, like what we mentioned earlier, the antique shopping. And I had this great idea of doing the antique shopping, doing a vlog. And there was a lot of parts of it where I was not happy with the quality of it. You know, my video editing skills can improve, my video taking skills can definitely improve, and I could have done a lot more research. I could have been a lot more prepared for the stream. I could have also not streamed it and just recorded the video instead of doing it live, as doing it live does put a lot of pressure in the performance of it, and adds a little bit of a difficulty as well, because doing things live, I feel a force to really talk really fast, and it doesn't give me time to take time to just gather my thoughts. And it is something that I'm working on and something that I'm improving on. However, it's not perfect, you know, and having these expectations, these really high expectations of having this really cool antique vlog is a great idea and is something really cool. However, it is not realistic, you know. I was unable to meet my expectations, and so when I did not meet my expectations, when I was editing the vlog or when I was editing the stream, I was kind of hard on myself, unnecessarily so, and it really kind of impacted my motivation to continue with creating the video. And it took me a little bit to take the time to edit the video. However, once I posted, you know, I came with the idea of, okay, I'm not gonna I don't like this video, but I'm still gonna do it. And I kind of come with this mindset of, and it's today's topic of, done is better than perfection, or done is better than perfect. And this is kind of the philosophy of doing something badly is better than not doing it at all, especially if it's something that you're passionate about. And that's kind of the approach that I took with the antique shopping stream slash vlog slash video that I posted on the YouTube. And I think I'm glad that I posted it. I'm glad that I did it. You know, I came to the realization that there was two ways that I can approach it. I could either re-record the video and redo it all and have it at my, like, to better meet my expectations, to be better prepared for it, which is totally valid and totally something that I can do. Or I could just work with what I got and do the best with what I got. And that's the decision I ended up doing, or decision that I ended up making. And initially I wasn't happy with the quality of it. As I mentioned earlier, I could have been more prepared. It could have been better in general. That was my mindset. However, despite that, I decided to record it, or despite that, I decided to edit the video and post it. And I rewatched the video once I posted it on the YouTube, and I was like, you know, this isn't as bad as I thought. And I realized, kind of like saying that out loud, I mentioned that out loud to my friend. And my friend pointed out, or he said something kind of profound, and it's something that I've heard before too. We are our worst critics. And I definitely kind of saw that with that video. You know, I had this great expectations, and because I had these great expectations, I was very critical and very harsh to myself, unnecessarily so, which kind of negatively impact how I felt about the video. However, because I still decided to go forth and conquer, so to say, and go forth and still do that video, I was able to take the time and look at the video without, like, after taking the look at the video without the initial, like, reaction, or without being so fresh from recording it. And I think that's really had helped me, and I'm glad I did it. Going next to, I guess, still building on top of the idea of perfectionism and doing things badly. It's something that I'm still working towards, and a lot of the times I find, especially when it comes to work, I am an intern, I'm an audit intern currently, and one thing that I find is at work is when I don't know how to exactly do something, it kind of makes me freeze. I freeze, and then I'm too scared to ask for help, because I kind of put myself on, I have these expectations for myself, you know, and these expectations kind of cause me to not, what do these expectations do? These expectations kind of lead me to kind of freezing because I hold myself to such a high standard, and when I don't meet that standard for whatever the reason is, it makes me have a lot of feelings. It makes me feel really stressed because I have these expectations. And for example, I just kind of tend to stop and freeze. And it is something that is really hard to work through for myself. And it's something that I'm definitely having to learn and to experience. Speaking of experience, it kind of brings me to a video I was watching yesterday. And the video was on YouTube, and her argument is very similar. I guess maybe it is inspiration to what today's topic is. And her topic and her conversation was opening up the argument that anything worth doing is worth doing badly. And she argues that you have to put yourself out and feel discomfort to be able to progress in life. It's not her exact wordings, but I really agreed with what she was saying. And it's so hard to put yourself out there to do things that you're not good at. And it's something that I tend to avoid things that I'm not good at. And you can definitely see it whenever I play video games. And you can definitely see it when I play a video game called League of Legends. League of Legends is a 5v5 video game, a 5-player versus 5-player video game. And it is a video game that is very, very skill-oriented and game knowledge-oriented. And there is over 100 different characters that you can play in this video game. So knowing what your character does, what characters you play does is very important. And there's 5 different roles that you can play in this video game. And where I'm going with this is, in this video game, I tend to play only one role. I'm picking up another role, but I tend to only play a very small group of champions or group of heroes, characters, and I only play 2 roles out of the 5 roles. I've tried playing a few other roles every now and then, but when I don't do well in these roles, I get very discouraged. I get very upset and angry at the game, upset and angry at myself, or upset and angry at other people. And it is quite embarrassing, not gonna lie. And it is something that I am working towards to try to be more gracious at being bad at things. But it kind of goes into that conversation about working through and embracing not being perfect and being bad at things. It's okay to be bad at things. But oh man, it is really hard to kind of motivate yourself to put yourself out there and do things badly. And I admire those people that are willing to try anything. I admire those that are willing to do things badly. It is something that I really do struggle with doing things badly. And it's something that I'm learning, you know, kind of with my approach with content creation. I apologize. It's something that I'm going to talk about a lot because it's something that I have been really interested in doing lately. And this is something that that I can use to talk about this conversation. However, I understand talking about like video editing or creating content isn't relatable to a lot of people. So I do apologize if you do not find it interesting. That being said, I've taken the approach about being bad at content creation and try to improve every step of the way and have the mindset that it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to always meet my standards. However, just getting it done and doing it is really the goal. Doing things badly is a really good way to approach this and to improve in life. And I really do feel like that is what am I saying here? Improving in life, doing things badly is definitely like the way that I've definitely been. This approach to content creation and creating videos has really helped me understand where I can improve, what I can do, what I like doing, and having this mindset that it cannot be perfect really has opened up this door of opportunity for me to explore this way to create. And creativity has always been a huge part of me, something that I've always been super proud of and I've always felt the need of creating. And this and the way of creating through YouTube videos and streaming is a new way of creating for me, and it's not something that I inherently am great at. It's something that I've had to like learn and practice, and naturally I start off bad, but the more practice I'll do, I'll improve. And having that mindset of something being done badly is better than not being done perfectly. And this is kind of approach that I hope to have in life. And this type of approach is something that I've also been using at work. I feel like I hold myself at such a high standard at work, and I've mentioned this a little bit earlier about how having these standards really does make it feel like it freezes for me, where I'm unable to do much when I have all these expectations and standards. And when I run into a roadblock, it kind of puts a lot of stress on me and puts a lot of pressure. I'm just saying the same thing, but it puts a lot of stress and pressure, and it causes me to stop and freeze. And by stopping and freezing, it really is not good, especially when it comes to work, when there is due dates or expectations outside of myself also. That it does put a lot of pressure, and having that mindset of it being done is better than not being done perfectly really helps. Because if I always had the mindset of it having to be done perfectly, then I wouldn't move forward when it comes to work, and I wouldn't be a very good employee and maybe lose my job. That's something that I worry about. I recently ran into a situation at work where I was stuck, as I mentioned earlier. I was really stuck, and to give a little context, I don't want to give too much information, naturally. To give a little context for the project that I was stuck on at work, I was tasked to run a project all by myself. And it's a really great project, and I ran a project very similar to it before. And I had ran into a few issues where I felt confused. It was a little bit different than the other project that I was supposed to do before, and because of that, I didn't ask for help when I should have, and it really just made me feel stuck. I felt stuck, and I felt stressed, and I literally was losing sleep over it. I felt so guilty because I wasn't being productive. I felt so guilty because I felt like I wasn't being a good employee. And it took me quite a little bit to gather the courage to email my boss and let her know, hey, can we talk? And she was super kind, and we spoke, and I explained it to her. I was like, hey, I am stuck in this situation. This is taking a lot longer than what I was originally planning to, and I feel so bad about it. And I explained myself to her, and she was super duper understanding. She was super kind and super willing to listen to my situation and my challenges. And she asked about like where she can help, and she gave me advice on what to do and how to approach the situation. And it really helped me feel better about the situation, and it really and that really helped me move forward with the project instead of being stuck. And it took me a little bit to feel better, or it took me a little bit to be able to suck up my, I don't know if it was pride, I don't know if it was just uncertainty. I think I was scared. I think I was scared to admit that I wasn't doing well. I think I was scared to admit that I needed help. And I'm glad that I took the time to admit that and time to ask for help. And she was able to give me the help and the assistance that I really was looking for. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time, you know, sometimes it takes a little bit of assistance. Sometimes when I found myself in the past too, when I found myself in a similar situation where I needed to reach out to my boss for help and I didn't know how to ask for help. I've reached out to her in the past, and the way that I was able to feel comfortable reaching out to her, because I didn't know how to reach out to her, you know, it might sound a little bit silly, but in my head I feel like I have to hit some sort of professionalism. I feel like I have to meet these imaginary expectations that is in my head about like, oh, this email has to be professional, oh, I have to be meeting these expectations, whatever these expectations are. Oh, I don't want to seem silly, I don't want to seem dumb, I don't want to give her any reason to fire me. And it is coming to, you know, it comes to a lot of parts where I feel insecure in the workplace. I feel like I don't belong. I feel like I'm not perfect, and so I worry that maybe they'll fire me, you know. And it comes with a lot of these worries, but it goes back towards what I was talking about the need to feel perfect isn't always it can have negative impacts. I was saying something and I kind of forgot. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pause. We're gonna rewatch my VOD to hear what I said so that I can gather my thoughts and end this sentence. That is something also. I might edit this out of the YouTube video, but something that I've noticed, and kind of going with like that perfectionism, working on perfectionism, and it's okay to do things imperfectly, and if you have standards, it's okay to have standards, but also if you're working on a project and it not being perfect is the reason for you not like finishing it, then that is a dumb reason. And going with that and kind of showing about how I'm personally working through that with my own personal projects, with like streaming, recording videos, posting them on YouTube, and improving it each time and getting better and better, and doing things badly in the beginning and working towards improving things, working towards improving my videos, improving my stream qualities, and all that jazz, all this boring content creator things that might not be relatable to others. But talking about how I've been working on approaching my perfectionism tendencies and combating that, and combating actually putting and doing things and finishing projects despite it not being perfect, is I've been approaching it by doing it, finishing it, and putting it out into the world and seeing where I can improve it for next time. And one of the things that I've realized for improving it for the next time with my previous videos that I've made is I struggle, especially when I'm streaming live on Twitch like I am right now, is I struggle with going back and finishing conversations. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go back, rewatch the Twitch VOD and see what I was talking about and finish my conversation, because that is something that I definitely do find challenging sometimes, is finishing my thoughts, because I get distracted or I just forget what I'm talking about, because it's really hard talking out loud and it is a challenge, but it is something that I'm working on improving. I cannot be perfect about it. And this self-project of myself of creating and just yapping here on the internet really, I feel like, has helped me improve on my social skills and helped me improve on being able to talk. And I have goals. I want to be able to, my goal one day is to be eloquent when I speak. I was watching, who was I watching? I was watching Moist Critical, and he is a very eloquent speaker, in my opinion. He uses a lot of big words, and he's able to talk about a lot of different topics in ways that is easily accessible for people. And the way that he uses descripting words is interesting, engaging, and it comes off very naturally. It comes off as if he's talking very naturally, and it's something that I want to personally improve for myself. Okay, I remember now, or I guess I didn't. I went back and rewatched it. Chat, or I guess YouTube watchers, if you guys are watching on YouTube, I don't know. I might cut this part out. I might not. I don't know. If it's not cut out, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'd send you little hearts. Here's little hearts for you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I was talking about my challenges, about feeling perfect and how it has affected me in the workplace. And I've mentioned how I am approaching with my need to do things correctly or perfectly the first time in my content creation and in my personal projects, such as creating videos and stuff, and how I guess I'm approaching my video and content creation with a growth mindset. And that's kind of the approach that you kind of have to take when it comes to, if you tend to have a expectation for things to meet certain expectations or standards, or meeting perfectionism. Because it definitely doesn't feel like, to me, in the moment, it doesn't feel like it needs to be perfect. It doesn't. When people describe me as a perfectionist, I don't really agree. I don't feel like I am a perfectionist. However, when I do describe my challenges that I face about not being able to feel like I can do certain things or finish certain things because it won't meet certain standards of mine, that does kind of go in line to what is similar challenges to that a perfectionist would face. Anyways, that is slightly off topic. What is more on topic is, I'm getting I'm getting lost. I'm getting distracted by my own my own Minecraft gameplay. Something cool is gonna pop up and I'm really excited. Okay. I know, spoiler alert, sorry. Spoiler alert, there's something cool that's gonna pop up and I'm excited to show you guys on the gameplay. But we're yapping about perfection. We're yapping about how... So, it's interesting to see that my expectations and me not meeting these standards has impacted me in the real world, in my workplace. And being able to suck up my ego and being able to ask for help really has enabled me to get the help that I needed and to be able to move forward with the task at work specifically. Because of that situation, I feel like I've grown. I feel like I've learned more, and let's be more descriptive. I'm being very generic, right? What did I grow? I grew. What did I grow? What did I learn? I learned that asking for help is okay. That I face a challenge with feeling like I don't belong. I face a challenge with feeling like I cannot ask for help. You know, I do not want to become a burden for others. And because I do not want to feel like a burden for others, it's kind of impacted me with not wanting to reach out to ask for assistance. And that's impacted me in the workplace. However, despite that, I still did ask for help. And it enabled me to move forward and I'd get the help and get the advice that I needed to move forward in my project and complete the project. I'm almost done with my work project at work and I'm pretty proud of it. However, it's not perfect, and it not being perfect was part of the reason why it kind of took me so long to do the project. And me moving past the need for it to be perfect and just accepting that it being done is more important, that the project being done is a higher priority than the project being perfect, that understanding really has enabled me, additionally to asking for help, has enabled me to actually completing the project itself and has led to me completing the project now. I guess my point is, so what is my point? My point is, it's okay to have standards for yourself. I think having standards is really important to feeling pride in your work. Feeling pride in your work is very important. Important for me personally. I think feeling pride in what you do is really important because it pushes you to be your best self, to want to do the best quality of work, and it pushes that motivation to keep doing what you want to do. Accepting that things are not going to be perfect and that being imperfect shouldn't stop you from doing what you want to do, from pushing past and achieving whatever your goals are. Things, unfortunately, aren't always going to be, things are never going to be perfect. There's always something that you can do better. Having expectations that are not realistic kind of sets you up for failure, and it's something that I find challenging sometimes. I have these big goals and big expectations, and having these big goals and expectations and ideas is great because it pushes me to explore new ideas and new challenges and new things. However, it does kind of make me stop and make me face a challenge, or make me stop and prevents me from achieving what I want to achieve. With having a mindset about accepting that things are not always going to be perfect, that something being done is better than not being done perfectly. And it enables me to look where I can improve and improve it, to complete a project and move forward. I think that's a big thing, to complete a project and move forward on that project and to learn from my experiences. And I think that really goes back into like that growth mindset that I mentioned earlier this stream. Having that growth mindset when it comes to improving and learning, doing things badly instead of doing things perfectly. Because if you always have this expectation of doing things perfectly, how are you supposed to learn? How are you supposed to get to that point of, or close enough to, perfection? So go out there and do something imperfectly. What challenges are you guys facing? Or do you guys ever feel frozen with imperfection? Or because things are not meeting standards and expectations that you would like it to? Going back to the conversation about pride, I think it is really important for me personally to feel pride in what I do, to feel fulfilled with what I do. And that is what having pride with my accomplishments is, something that really pushes me to be my best self, to improve and grow and learn. And it's hard to be prideful if I never complete something, and when I find myself stopping myself for not doing something because it's not perfect. I cannot feel prideful because I did not feel or did not complete that project. I don't think I'm ever going to be over having these high expectations for myself. I think that's always going to be something that I will have. I think that's just the type of person that I am. I have high expectations of myself, which is a good thing. It's good to have expectations and standards. Oh yes, this is going back to something else that I wanted to talk about. Standards. I think having expectations and standards is a great thing to have, and it's very helpful to have these standards and to have expectations. But I think it is very important, as I mentioned earlier, to be realistic with your expectations, because if it's not attainable, it can really make you feel it can really impact me personally how I feel about certain things. And it really highlights the importance of having realistic expectations and evaluating your expectations and evaluating how much energy certain tasks and projects will take and balancing that out. And as you grow up and as you learn, it really will be easier to tell as time goes on, with knowing how much energy certain tasks take and knowing whether or not something is attainable. And it goes to show that these projects that you do, these goals that you have, and these expectations are not a bad thing. It's nothing that, you know, you shouldn't stop doing them just because your expectations to be perfect is unattainable, so to speak, kind of building up what we were talking about. Well, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not saying that just because perfection is not attainable, you should not go and achieve your expectations and goals. You should still push forward and do things. Just don't stop trying because it can't be perfect. Go ahead and do what makes you happy, but be realistic with your expectations, or be realistic with what is achievable and what is not achievable. Also, this is a cool thing that I wanted to show you guys. This is a Rahura Pokemon. I don't know what type of Pokemon that is, but it's like I talked to my husband about it after I was recording this gameplay, and then I was like, look at this cool Pokemon that spawned right next to me while I was getting really cool cherry blossoms. And he was like, he thinks it's a legendary. And I was like, what? A Rahura. Unfortunately, it's level 70, and all my Pokemon are like level 10, so we can't catch it. But very pretty. Very pretty. Okay, but back on topic. What were we talking about? We were talking about making realistic expectations, but also still dream. Do things that make you happy, do things that make you proud, do things that you're passionate about. And I think that's something that I've been really learning about personally with my approach to my personal projects, such as streaming, recording videos, editing videos, drawing, and art. And this push to create things has really helped me learn and see what works with me, see what does not work with me, and improve. And have this growth mindset to improve has really been helpful. In preparation of recording this video and going live on stream, I looked up a few quotes about perfection or perfect. And there's some that I agree with, some that made me think, and I thought it would be fun to kind of talk about them with you guys and see what you guys think. Here's a quote by Leo Tolstoy and Anna Karenina. If you look for perfection, you'll never be content. I agree with that. And I think that kind of goes with what I was arguing, or what I was arguing, that to create things, and if you're looking to create things, and if the idea about the project, the creative project that you're doing, I didn't even see that Pokemon I just walked past. It just blended in the grass, by the way. If you're looking to create things, and if perfection is stopping you from finishing the project, that is just a silly reason. And that kind of goes with what she's saying here with, if you're looking for perfection, you'll never be content. And if you're looking for perfection, you'll never really finish that project. And I agree. The next quote we have is, "Have no fear of perfection, you'll never reach it," by Salvador Dali. Salvador Dali. So Dali is a very famous artist. I know he's... I can't quote on it. I know he's a super famous artist. I'm pretty sure he done surrealism. And I guess that goes in line too. If he's created surrealism, and that's a quote that he says about, "Have no fear of perfection, you'll never reach it." What does he mean by "have no fear of perfection, you'll never reach it"? Fear of perfection. Do you fear perfection? Do people fear perfection? That's an interesting idea. Do I fear perfection? Have no fear of perfection, you'll never reach it. I guess it's not a fear of perfection, but a fear of not reaching perfection for me, which, as I mentioned earlier, has led to me just freezing and not doing anything because I'm not meeting my own expectations that might not be realistic, and I have this pride where it kind of stopped me from asking for help when I really needed to. And I suppose what Dolly is arguing here, "Have no fear of perfection, you'll never reach it," is perfection's not realistic, and it's not something to be strived for. You shouldn't stop doing something because you are scared from the lack of perfection. And that's not something, perfection isn't something that you should push forward to. And it shouldn't stop you from doing things. I think that's what Mr. Dolly means by that quote. Adam says, "That's right, it will never be perfect, it only needs to be good enough." Heck, I even argue that it doesn't even need to be good enough. Something that I said earlier this stream too has been, anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Which things can always be, I think the mindset that I'm coming with saying that is, anything can always be done. Anything can always be done better. There's always something that you can improve on whichever topic or whichever project you're working on. But if that's going to stop you from completing a task or completing a project, then it's not worth it, you know? It's better to be, as I said time and time again, it's better for it to be done than for it to not to be done at all. And that's kind of my approach with life. Adam Frosch says, "If I'm not good at my job, houses would burn down." That's a good argument. And that's definitely valid. I think that kind of goes back to what I was saying about standards. How there is a I don't want to disagree with what I was saying too. But I think that kind of goes into what I wanted to talk about earlier. About standards and how having standards is important, but also having realistic standards as well. And I think naturally, especially when it comes to jobs, there is certain standards people have to face and achieve. However, with the idea that things have to reach certain unrealistic standards, such as perfectionism, or it could always be done, or something done better, it's not always the best. I'm gonna have to think a little bit more, Adam, about that and chat too. I don't think I've had the best argument when I said that there, and I can definitely improve it. However, I think it's something that I have to ponder about a little bit more and to think. Here's a quote from Ahriman's Odyssey. Perfection is achieved not when there is nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. Perfection is achieved when there's nothing more to add, but there's nothing left to take away. Nothing left to take away. I don't know what they mean by this quote. Nothing left to take away. Nothing left to delete and I don't know. I don't know what they mean by this quote. So if you guys know, let me know. Because I'm not quite sure. Okay, here's a pretty long quote, but I think this might be interesting. Perfectly imperfect. We have all heard that no two snowflakes are alike. Each snowflake takes the perfect form for the maximum efficiency and effectiveness for its journey. And while the universal force of gravity gives them a shared destination, the expansive space in the air gives each snowflake the opportunity to take their own path. They are on the same journey, but each takes a different path. Along this gravity-driven journey, some snowflakes collide and damage each other. Some collide and join together. Some are influenced by the wind. There's so many transitions and changes that take place along the journey of the snowflake, but no matter what the transition, the snowflake always finds itself perfectly shaped for its journey. I find parallels in nature to be beautiful reflection of grand orchestration. One of these parallels is of snowflakes and us. We, too, are all headed in the same direction. We are being driven by a universal force to the same destination. We are all individuals taking different journeys, and along our journey, we sometimes bump into each other. We cross paths. We become altered. We take different physical forms. But at all times, we too are 100% perfectly imperfect. At every given moment, we are absolutely perfect for what is required for our journey. But I'm not perfect. But I'm not perfect for your journey, and you're not perfect for my journey. But I'm perfect for my journey, and you're perfect for your journey. We're headed to the same place. We're taking different routes, but we're both exactly perfect the way we are. Think of what understanding this great orchestration could mean for relationships. Imagine interacting with others knowing that they too share this parallel with the snowflake. Like you, they are headed to the same place, and no matter what they appear like to you, they have taken the perfect form for their journey. How strong our relationships would be if we could see and respect that we are all perfectly imperfect for our journey. Steve Maraboli, Life, the Truth, and Being Free. Wow, I think that is a beautiful symbolism with being a beautiful symbolism and metaphor comparing humans to snowflakes and how our journey is quite different from one another, but how our journey has been shaped and changed based off of our journey, really. Perfectly imperfect, and the comparison to humans to snowflakes. Do I agree? I hate to be a bummer, but I don't agree when he says that we are perfect for our journey. It's kind of a negative mindset, but I think it goes with what I was saying about accepting that things cannot be perfect and working with what you have. Because life isn't perfect, and that's okay. However, I do agree with him when he says that everyone is shaped by their own journey, and what one person is fit for one journey, the other person isn't going to be. I am fit for my journey in life, and you are fit for your journey in life, and our journeys are different. And I think I agree with that. Here is another quote. Perfection of character is this. To live each day as if it were your last, without frenzy, without apathy, without pretense. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. Meditations. You know, as soon as I was reading this quote, it reminded me. It sounded familiar. And I believe this quote was quoted to me by a friend named Path. And actually, if you guys have watched a YouTube video or caught it live on stream, this was actually a video that Path and I discussed about self-improvement, really. And this was a quote that he gave me. Marcus Aurelius Meditations, yeah. Perfection of character is this: to live each day as if it was your last, without frenzy, without apathy, without pretense. I don't think it's against anything that what I was saying. Do I agree? I guess what he's saying is to live your life. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with it at all. Let's see. Ooh, I love this quote. Here's the next quote. There is no perfection, only beautiful versions of brokenness. No perfection, only beautiful versions of brokenness. I like it, but I also don't like it. I'm being so nitpicky about these quotes. I like this because it argues, the quote argues, that there is no perfection. However, I don't like the argument that everything is broken. I don't think everything's broken. Or I mean, it's not the straight up argument that everything is broken. They didn't straight up say that everything broken, but they implied that everything broken. But okay, because there's no perfection, only beautiful versions of brokenness. Yeah. Why do I not like this? Do I disagree, or do I not like? I'm like thinking out loud right now. I do not agree with this statement because I don't think everything's broken. Maybe some things are broken naturally, like a broken plate. Okay, that's broken. But just because something isn't perfect doesn't mean that it's broken. But what is my point against that? I don't know if I have an exact argument. This might be something that I might have to sit here and ponder for a little bit. It might take a little bit of time. But I like that idea. Also, chat, what I'm doing here is trying to fix the village a little bit. So as we kind of see is that the village is absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, but there's a lot of different layers to it. I've fallen off quite often. And so what I'm creating here is a waterfall, and this might be a beginning of a path of a whole bunch of water. And I might do a waterfall path because it would be a way to travel in Minecraft. Because you can go up and down using water by swimming up waterfalls. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. But going back to the argument that there is no perfection, only beautiful versions of brokenness. I don't like this quote. Why do I not like this quote? I don't like this quote because I don't think everything's broken, and it is implying that everything is broken. Well, what do I think if not everything is broken? I think that things can be imperfect. Things are imperfect, but it doesn't mean it's broken. Because broken implies that it doesn't work as it's supposed to. And I disagree. Things can still work, even if it's not perfect. And maybe that's the qualm that I have with that quote. And that's my argument against it. And yes, Adam, I agree. Broken implies it needs fixing. Yes. Yes, I agree, actually. I agree. Broken implies that it needs fixing. And just because something is not perfect, that something that is imperfect, it doesn't mean that it's wrong or that it doesn't belong. Not saying that broken things are wrong or doesn't belong as well. Broken things has a place in this world as well. The next quote, I think perfection is ugly somewhere in the things humans make. I want to see scars, failure, disorder, and distortion. This part reminds me of a book / movie, they later made it into a movie, called The Uglies. This is a book that is marketed towards young adults, and it is a science fiction book and follows the journey of a young girl in a society where everyone past a certain age receives some sort of plastic surgery to make them seem perfect. So after people reach a certain age, I believe it's like maybe 16, people have plastic surgery to have like perfectly matching faces, where their faces are no longer asymmetrical, their faces are more symmetrical. They take away all the scars, take away any moles or imperfections in the bodies, places everyone to whatever the perfect ideal body shape is through plastic surgery. And it's within the society that everyone lives. They actually separate people that are born naturally, that hasn't had the surgery yet, and the people that are has had the surgery done. And this society, it's so unheard of that people don't get the surgery done, that it's actually a revolution that happens. But in this society, everyone is perfect. All these scars and imperfections are erased through the surgery, and it follows the story of a young girl kind of exploring herself and exploring her sense of identity that is tied with her appearance. And I think this quote reminds me of that scenario, because within imperfection, it tells you about, it gives you a story. It explains people's lives, you know? If you have a scar, you have a story to tell with the scar. Maybe your cat scratched you, maybe you fell off a swing when you're little, but it has a story, gives people character, and perfection kind of takes away with that. Voltic, thank you so much for the gifted sub, I really appreciate it. To Captain Zero, thank you. I hope you're having a lovely day. I hope you're having a lovely perfectly day. That's not a word, perfectly? Maybe. Tonight we're yapping about perfection, kind of embracing being okay with things not being perfect and moving forward with imperfection and how to work through challenges despite that. Right now we're reading some quotes about perfection, and I'm just talking about whether I agree or disagree with them, really. Let's see what the next quote is. So Michael J. Fox shares, I'm careful not to confuse excellence with perfection. Excellence I can reach for. Perfection is God's business. And I think it, like what I mentioned earlier, it kind of reflects to what you were saying earlier, Adam, where having standards, if you don't reach certain standards for your work, Adam, it might lead to a house being on fire, which is not what we want. And of course, naturally, jobs have certain standards and must reach certain standards. So it can be challenging to find that balance with hitting certain standards, but also making sure the standards are realistic, and making sure that you know, it's unrealistic. Sometimes standards may be unrealistic, or the standards of perfections is not realistic to meet all the time. However, here the argument Michael J. Fox says is that he's careful not to confuse excellence with perfection. Excellence can be reached for, but perfection cannot. And I like that. I think I'm going to take that mindset going forward when arguing that, or setting the standard of perfection versus excellence, or setting standards and arguing for and against standards. That wasn't the most eloquent way that I can say that. I could have said that better. But that's kind of part of what I'm here. I talked about earlier too, and I've talked about like multiple times. Part of the reason why I stream is I do want to improve in speaking. And one day I want to be a more eloquent speaker. I want to have purpose with what I talk about. And it comes with practicing. And it's unrealistic to expect to be perfect in my practicing, and that's one way to set unrealistic expectations. If I always expect myself to be an eloquent speaker, or always to have the most perfect way to say things. But something that I've definitely noticed too, though, is my English grammar is not the best all the time. And it might be a little embarrassing because I am a college student and I'm a senior in college, and all this education I still struggle with grammar. But I think it does go in line with be true to yourself, be who you are, and work on improving things, and embrace the imperfections. I guess going back to what Michael J. Fox was saying, strive for excellence, not perfection. He didn't say that exactly, but that's what I'm taking from it. Firefly, so it's about improving yourself without being unfair. I love that take. Improving yourself without being unfair. Yes. Strive for excellence, not perfection. Yeah, and it kind of goes with that growth mindset, you know? I hope I don't drown this, like, Pokemon. Oh, okay, good. I was worried for a second. I was like, I don't remember what I did with that Pokemon. I remember looking at it and hoping it moved. Okay, let's read the next quote. When all the details fit in perfectly, something is probably wrong with the story. Okay. I wonder if he means just the story or in general. Yeah, I don't know if I have much to say about this quote. Let's read the next one. Oh, this is a long one. Okay. This is by Ellen Hopkins, perfect. How do you define a word without concrete meaning? To each his own, the saying goes. Why? Push to attain an ideal state of being that no two random people will agree is where you want to be. Faultless, finished, incomparable. People can never be these. And anyway, when did creating a flawless facade become a more vital goal than leaning into learning to love the person who lives inside your skin? The outside belongs to others. Only you should decide for you what is perfect. This is a really poetic quote talking about body image, eating disorders, inspiration, perfection, and perfectionism, as well as self-love. I just read all the quotes, all the tags that was tagged for this quote. I think this is beautiful. How do you define a word without concrete meaning? To each their own, the saying goes. So why should you push to attain an ideal state of being that no two random people will agree is where you want to be? Faultless finish incomparable. People can never be these, and anyway, when did creating a flawless facade become a more vital goal than learning to love the person who lives inside your skin? The outside belongs to others. Only you should decide for you what is perfect. I love that. Only you should decide for you what is perfect. I love that because it kind of goes with the support that I love this because it kind of goes with the argument that being how do I word this? It's okay to push for excellence. I feel like sometimes it can get confusing in the argument that don't be perfect means don't work to improve yourself. And her argument kind of goes against that because it still leaves room to work to improve yourself and work to be your best self. Because her argument is only you get to decide who is or what is perfect for you and what your body should look like, and that it's not up to other people to decide that for you. Yeah, I like that quote. Body image issues is definitely a challenge that I know a lot of people face. I personally struggle with it quite a lot too. And that's something that is a lifelong journey for sure. Voltic MC. Kind of like striving for perfection is what makes imperfection beautiful. Interesting. Striving for perfection is what makes imperfection beautiful. Striving for perfection or striving for excellence? I think striving for excellence. Kind of what Mr. I believe his name was Fox was saying. Michael J. Fox. Don't confuse. I'm careful not to confuse excellence with perfection. Excellence I can reach for, perfection is God's business. But also I feel like that's also semantics. I like that word, semantics. I hope I used it right. Alright, let's find one more quote. Here's a quote by Bob Marley. Love hard when there is love to be had, because perfect guys don't exist. But there's always one guy that is perfect for you. That one's cute. That one's cute. I like it. A good way to end it off, I suppose. Alright, chat. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. We're gonna be ending the YouTube video here. If you guys are new here, hello, I'm Fancy Plants. It's nice to meet you guys. I am working on creating this Minecraft village and improving it in Cobblemon, joined by cute and wonderful Pokemon. And I appreciate you guys for stopping by and hanging out. If you guys are interested in checking out more of my content, be sure to check out my YouTube channel or check out the videos that will be showing up in your screen right now. Ding ding. Bye bye.